Today, XRP tumbles after the SEC says that it will appeal that landmark Ripple ruling. And Visa's crypto head Cuy Sheffield walks us through the payment giant's new tokenization platform. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Cryptocurrencies are turning lower this morning. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin slid to the $60,000 level, Ether fell to $23.39, and XRP sank to 52 cents a day after Bitwise filed with the SEC to launch a potential XRP ETF. Plus, we got an update in the Ripple SEC lawsuit. Okay, let's stick with that Ripple news as we talk about the top stories. The SEC says that it will push back on its partial court loss against the XRP issuer. The regulator filed a notice of appeal yesterday, more than a year after a federal judge ruled the sale of Ripple's XRP on public exchanges does not meet the criteria of a security, giving the company a partial victory over the regulator in its years-long legal battle. Now, in response to this latest move from the SEC, Ripple Labs chief legal officer Stuart Alderoty said on X that the SEC's decision to appeal prolongs what he calls, quote, a complete embarrassment for the agency, and that the company is weighing whether to file a cross appeal. He also questioned whether it's a coincidence that the agency announced the resignation of its enforcement director this morning ahead of the notice of appeal. An SEC spokesperson told CNBC that the agency believes the court's decision conflicts with Supreme Court precedent and securities laws. It also said that it looks forward to making its case to the Second Circuit. Next, North Korean operatives are reportedly infiltrating global crypto companies. CoinDesk reports that more than a dozen firms unknowingly hired IT workers from North Korea. Crypto projects that are reportedly affected include Cosmos Hub, ZeroLend, and Sushi. CoinDesk reports that some of the North Korean workers use proceeds from their IT earnings to fund the country's nuclear weapons program. A recent United Nations report reveals that overseas IT workers generate between $250 and $600 million annually for North Korea. Last, a CFTC subcommittee reportedly voted to pass recommendations allowing asset managers, including BlackRock and Franklin Templeton, to use tokenized shares of their money market funds as collateral. Now, Bloomberg reported that a subcommittee of the regulator's Global Markets Advisory Committee voted to pass guidelines on the handling and transferring of tokenized funds to the broader agency. Tokenization has garnered attention multiple times over the years, but Wall Street has been taking another look at the blockchain use case in the hopes that it could make markets more efficient and drive profits. We reached out to the CFTC for comment, but didn't hear back right away. Okay, sticking with tokenization for our main story, Visa just announced its new tokenization platform for banks called the Visa Tokenized Asset Platform, or VTAP. Now, the goal of the new service is to let more than 15,000 banks use blockchain technology for things like tokenized deposits. I spoke with the payment giant's head of crypto, Cuy Sheffield, about that new product and where Visa's crypto strategy is headed. So you're introducing the Visa Tokenized Asset Platform. Walk me through what VTAP will do.
Yeah, so we're super excited about the announcement this week. So VTAP gives the ability for banks to issue and manage fiat-backed tokens. And so one of the things that we've seen is really the growth and excitement around stable coins, which are now at an all-time high, around 170 billion in circulation. And we talk to banks all over the world that are really interested in figuring out how can they issue their own fiat-backed products. And so we're powering a lot of these capabilities for them and excited to work closely with banks to bring new products to market.
And so why launch this platform now? Is it a product of the kinds of conversations that you were describing, as in the market indicates that this is a good idea and that there is a sufficient appetite for this?
Yeah, so we've been following this space closely for many years now. And the story and genesis behind this platform, it was actually a lot of the work that we did with central banks across the world. And so we've been involved in CBDC pilots and sandboxes in Hong Kong and in Brazil. And we really got the opportunity to start working closely with banks, helping them with technology to be able to mint and manage these tokens. And we then decided to commercialize it and make this platform available on the Visa developer portal. And we've got many banks that work with us today for a range of different solutions. And as they start to enter into the blockchain space, we think Visa can help be a bridge for banks to be able to interact with blockchains with their own tokens.
Talk about what this partnership with the banks looks like. How are you going to bring them online? What kinds of use cases do you think are going to be most relevant to them?
Yeah, so our goal is really to be the easiest way that banks can get started. And I think what we found is, many banks have been researching, they've been exploring, they've been participating in working groups, but you can only learn so much until you actually, get your hands on a product, put something out there. And so we've got the sandbox that's available that we announced this week, where banks can come in, they can start, minting, burning, transferring these tokens. And there are a range of different use cases that we're seeing banks, interested in. And it really depends on the bank. There are banks that are looking at this as really blockchains becoming a modern ledger where they can do intra-bank payments that are 24/7 between their clients. We've got banks that are interested in capital market use cases, seeing the tokenization of securities and bonds and real estate. They want a cash leg to be able to trade those assets. We've got banks looking at smart contracts and new lending possibilities. Can they automate a lot of their internal processes? And so we're excited to work closely, hand in hand with banks to help them find the use cases where fiat tokens can be meaningful for their business.
Now, what I keep hearing is that the technology involved with tokenizing assets is really the easiest part of the equation. It took PayPal something like 4 years to issue PYUSD because it was a regulatory nightmare. And this is PayPal that we're talking about. So it's not that the technology is what's preventing people from doing this. It's really the regulatory and audit piece of this. And so my question to you is Visa doing anything to solve this piece of the puzzle? Perhaps help a platform or a bank with the regulatory aspect, throw Visa's weight behind them when it comes to working with digital asset regulators?
Yeah, so we've been engaging with regulators across the world, and really, we think it's important to have regulatory clarity around what are the rules for issuing a stablecoin or a tokenized deposit. And so we plan to continue doing that. However, really here the bank is the licensed issuer of the product, and so we're working very closely with the banks that we're partnering with to help them find a path to be able to test and get a product live. And we think it's not just the technology. There are also big questions around rules and standards for how these products should function. I think we've seen banks start to test and experiment with tokenized deposits and stablecoins in a very fragmented way. Banks are writing their own smart contracts. One bank's product looks very different from each other. And so I think there's a big role for Visa to play to create global standards and enable a platform where banks can issue products that can then interact with each other because they're built upon the same rules and standards, using the VTAP system.
So is VTAP just going to be within the US, or are you expanding out to other global jurisdictions?
Yeah, so the goal is for this to be a global platform. And as the technology enabler, it really comes down to working closely with banks as the regulated institutions and in markets where they're able to bring these products live. But the technology capabilities we plan to make available very broadly.
So Visa's been especially progressive on the crypto front. How are you thinking about integrating stablecoins into your card business, if at all? I would imagine that this would present some cool solutions with respect to Forex and international settlement.
Yeah, we think there are huge opportunities here. And we really started, we set up a crypto team really in the depths of the last bear market, about 5 years ago. And we really looked at a new set of fintech platforms that were building on top of crypto and stablecoins. And we wanted to give them a path to be able to issue Visa cards. And I think one of the things that we found is, as amazing as stablecoins can be, there isn't merchant acceptance. And so they can only have so much utility if you're just holding them as a store of value. You need to have a way to spend a stablecoin. And we think that linking a Visa credential to a stablecoin wallet is the best way to do that. We partner with over 50 crypto wallets and exchanges to be able to bring these products to market. And then we started to experiment with how can Visa enable clients to settle with us, using stablecoins on blockchain rails. And it's still early days, but we're seeing growing demand and interest from many of our clients that are starting to incorporate stablecoins into their corporate treasuries and looking to be able to settle directly with Visa on chain. And we think there's a huge opportunity to meet clients where they are and start to utilize these technologies to improve our core network and services.
So to your last point, Visa has been talking about accepting USDC for settlement. Has that been brought live across the board? And can you walk our viewers through what problem this is solving?
Yeah, so this is live today, in a handful of pilots, with clients on both the issuing side and the acquiring side. And it really started, when we worked with crypto companies to be able to issue cards. We found that a number of these crypto platforms, they're using stablecoins to pay their employees, stablecoins to pay their vendors, and they wanted to use stablecoins to be able to pay Visa. And so we authorize transactions, in real time. And then at the end of the day, we need to settle, with those clients. And our goal is to give more options and choice, to these clients to be able to, send us their, preferred currency on the preferred network, that they're using already. And so we launched this pilot, about a year ago. We've got a handful of partners in it, and we're seeing, really early positive signs of traction and more demand from many of our clients that we're talking to start to settle with Visa in USDC as well.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.